Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today is episode 6, and this is the first episode from after Thanksgiving. And so I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday and got fat and sassy because I sure did. And now we're back and ready to work. So today's episode is about energy, right? I talked about that last week about energy, your dominant energy, your identity, your beliefs. And last week was the first episode in a series of 6 around manifesting. So I told you that would go through the end of the year. I also shared that there would be a vision workshop in mid-December, and that's not happening. So I'm just letting you know that right now. There's no visioning workshop. That is going to get just folded into the course that I'm creating and will get launched end of January, first week in February. So stay tuned for that. So let's go back to energy. Today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter. And what I want to talk to you about is what is, so after last week, if you haven't heard episode 5, go back and listen to what dominant energy is, what frequency is, what resonance is. Those are all the same thing. The way I speak about them is that the energy that we're emitting, the energy that we're holding each and every moment attracts to us what we're getting in the 3D physical world. So, Tony Robbins talks a lot about state. And when he talks about state, he means the physiology of the body temple, what we're focusing on, and then the psychology. So when we're in a state of, let's say, a lower energy frame, maybe we're really sad or we're overwhelmed, which, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Not sad and overwhelmed. Sad and a lower energy state of maybe a learned helplessness or hopelessness, that kind of, so depression, let's talk about that. Mental health is such a big issue that just is overlooked way too much in my opinion. So a depressed state to me means an energy. So if you're watching this on YouTube, so just know that all the episodes of the podcast, most of them are full videos. There's no edits, and you can watch those on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, no, wait, reverse. If you're listening to this on the podcast, when you go to YouTube, you will see my hands moving down according to energy levels. So there, I got sidetracked again. So a depressed state of energy is a lowering of an energetic state, meaning our energy, what we're emitting and what is possible for us is lower on, let's pretend there's a ladder leaning up against a wall. And each rung of the ladder, let's pretend that each of those rungs is a energetic state that we're vibrating at. And let's say not even the first rung, let's put a half a rung, the step on the ladder. The rung is a little dowel, a little step on that ladder going all the way to the top. There's the ground zero, right? That's just nothing. We're in the dirt. And then not even the first rung, but let's just say halfway, that's a pretty depressed state of energy. Not a lot vibrating there, not a lot going on. So think about if you've ever been in a really low mood or ever been depressed about something or had something really challenging happen in your life. And you're just like on the couch or in bed or just in your mind, very almost like this negative, cynical mindset. I'm not saying I'm not equating it to that. I'm just saying that can be part of it. And what happens is that your body gets in a slumpy energy, like your shoulders roll forward. So what happens is that you're not going to attract a lot of goodness in that energetic state because you're in this lower, depressed state of energy, meaning lower. So today's episode is all about what is your energetic standard. So to understand where you are, your state, we're going to go back to that on a daily basis. First, you have to kind of assign yourself. I assign myself a number from I always do 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Where am I right now? So last week when I talked about dominant energy, dominant focus, dominant identity, how am I identifying with this, with myself, with money? It was about money last week. Relationships. what happens is when I'm in a lower energetic state, right? Let's say 1, 2, 3 on the ladder, the rung of the ladder. It means that I'm just literally getting pieces and bits and some energy and some light in, because that's all that's available, because I'm not in receiving mode. I'm in a shutdown lower mode. There's not a lot of light coming in here. It's a darker, meaning closed off energetic. So, what I want you guys to do is to start thinking about what your energetic standard is for yourself. And so, to me, we're going to be talking a lot about boundaries in December. We're going to touch on it briefly today. Is an energetic standard. To me, a standard is a boundary. It means it's what I'm willing to, I have a limit, right? A standard is like, no, I'm not doing that. That goes below my standard. We all have standards. Whether we have identified them or not is another story. So, what I'm asking you to do is identify your own energetic standard. What is the point where you're not willing to go to? That's a standard. So just like a boundary is same thing. It's like, no, you're not going to step over this. Then you have to leave, or then I'm leaving, or this isn't going to work for me. We all have those. Just most of us as women, we don't identify what our standards are. So I love using standards and boundaries interchangeably. And yes, they're different. For me, in these conversations, a boundary would be, what's your energetic boundary? Where are you in energy? What are you willing to tolerate on the external coming into your energy, your field, your personal space? And what are you putting out? Because when we're putting out a low level of energy and expecting some high level to come in, it's not going to happen. So since this is part of this manifesting series that we're doing till the end of the year, identifying where we are, like I said last week, the Wheel of Life exercise that I do in all my workshops, to identify where we're starting from, is the pivotal point where then I can say, okay, X marks the spot. I'm at a 4. I'm at a 4, Rita, and I kind of feel stuck, which is accurate in a 4. 3, 4, even 5. It's like, there's something there that's limiting me, whether it's the mind, right? The mindset, the psychology, a block, a limitation, something physically, or just something that maybe in the past created a sense of fear, or I've had a failure. What happens is that will show up, and it's an unconscious block to moving forward, because there's a part of us that's afraid to quote unquote fail again. So knowing that, and many times we don't because it's unconscious, but starting to identify where I am, I can start doing the next step. So step number 1 is to identify what my energetic standards are. Do I go to work with this kind of mindset as nothing's going to happen for me? Sales are really slow. The economy sucks. Politics this. Oh, I don't know. My partner, talks down to me, and I'm overwhelmed. The kids. When we start doing all that, our energy now is lower. And then it starts becoming about the word. So pay attention to this. It starts becoming a conversation I'm having internally in my mind, and the conversation revolves around the word me. So when we're saying me a lot in this context, it's a wounded ego. And that ego needs to constantly identify with itself as being a victim of something, someone, an expectation that didn't get met externally. So I'm blaming. What did I tell you about blame? When we're blaming and complaining, blaming is absolutely number 1 on your list to know you're in a drama triangle with yourself, and you're trying, or have already done so, pulled someone else into it and assigned them or the circumstance the role of persecutor / bully. That's one and the same. Somebody's doing something to me, and they blah blah blah, fill in the blank, and I'm so mad, right? Well, that right there keeps you stuck in that drama triangle. And from that place, it's very challenging, right? This is manifestation month. It's very challenging to manifest and call in what you want, whether it's a money goal, a career goal, a relationship goal, whatever that is, moving to a new home, writing a book. it's not going to happen with that energy because you're in a triangle of disempowered energetics. That comes from you. You have control over, remember what I said, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Only those three things. That is your locus of control. So when you identify your energetic standard, it gives you the number one thing in all of my coaching is always awareness. Let me identify where I am so I can move from this place. Most of us, I'll say many people don't identify where they are. And the truth is that we're doing our best day to day. We're really doing our best. I know everyone that's listening to this is doing their best. You're driving in your car, you're going to an appointment, you're seeing a client, you're on your lunch break, whatever it is. And you're like, damn, Rita, I'm doing my best and still not happening. Great, great. No judgment or shaming of yourself. The frustration, use the frustrated energy to go right for 5 minutes. There's 24 hours in a day. I was going to do the math earlier about how many minutes that is. 24 times 6, add a zero on the end, whatever that is. What is it? 150-ish, 142, 144 probably, something like that, whatever it is. But plus a zero. Don't take that. Somebody do the math. So that's how many minutes you have in a day. Now, yes, you're going to sleep anywhere from between 6 and 8 hours. So you're going to minus that out of it. But you have the ability to honor yourself as a woman, to care for yourself. Now, I know a lot of men listen to this podcast because I've already been messaged that thank you, and it's from men. So I'm going to include you as a human. So just know that you have the ability to give yourself 30 of those minutes, 60 of those minutes, 25 of those minutes. Someone said to me today, I said, did you listen to episode 4? Because she was referring to something and it was exactly what I spoke about in that little mini-sode of episode 4. And she said, no, this is exact her words. I don't have an extra minute in the day. And I said, stop. You do. You just choose to do other things. Now she has children. She has a career. She has a business. Doesn't mean you don't have a minute or 5 minutes. That episode's 15 minutes. You can listen to that while you're driving. You can listen to a book. You can spend 5 minutes journaling in the morning while you're making your coffee. I don't buy that because it's just another excuse to keep people in this drama triangle, because when there's a scarcity of time, there's a scarcity of money, because that means there's a scarcity mindset around what's possible for me. I don't have time. I just don't buy it. There's everyone, the great equalizer is time. Every executive, every business owner, every billionaire, every janitor, every animal, sentient being on this planet goes through the amount of time that we have in the day. It's all equal. We assign the clock. The clock was made up by humans, and we've adhered ourselves to this clock. It's not natural for a lot of people. It's definitely not natural for me. Time and me are just relative. Time's relative. I'm more on Einstein's time frame with 10 dimensions and time warps. I ask for time warps all the time. Oh, that was funny. All the time. So let me roll back. Let me expand on that just 1 second, is that the reason that I ask for a time warp is because I didn't make up the clock. Somebody made up a clock for the Industrial Revolution, or to make sense of our reality as humans and fit things into boxes, and the daylight and the sun and the moon and all the things. And time warps are possible every minute of the day, because time it expands and contracts. So when I'm in a contracted state, like, oh my God, there's never enough time, I never find a parking spot and I'm late. Think about that. Contraction, contraction, contraction. So time can't expand for me because I've contracted it in my mind. That's how powerful we are. So this whole podcast, this whole series of manifesting, is my goal is to uncover in you and just kind of poke holes in the stories and belief systems that we have around what's possible for you specifically. And moving into being that woman who's fucking on fire for her life with possibilities. So that goes for anyone listening to this podcast. Be on fire for your life, because here's what I know about time. In this body, in this physical 3D suit I'm wearing right now, I get one time here. I don't know how long that is. Who knows? I could be poof tomorrow gone. I mean, I hope not. And it could happen. Whatever. There's nothing I can do about that. So, what I'm saying is honor yourself, honor the time that God has come in to create this being of who you are as a soul on this planet during this time. You came for a specific purpose. Now, a lot of people want to argue with me about their purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. You know what your purpose. I didn't know that shit till I was, I don't know, in my 40s. And it came to me after a breath. Maybe I was, yeah, it was probably late 40s. Maybe it was 50. Through a breath work session. I had done a master's degree and all this stuff and all these trainings. And it came to me because it explained, because I was in another realm. I wasn't here. I'm pointing to my head for the people that are listening. I wasn't here in the mind with a contracted idea of Rita with an identity. Let's go back to identity. What am I? Who do I identify as? What's the energy I identify as? I was in a deep breathwork session in another dimension, and everything got explained to me. I came out of that and it shifted my entire life because I was willing and committed to opening myself up. Here we go, to a different energetic standard. And I've never gone lower than that since then, because I reset my own standard by being willing and committed to go there, to go out of my mind, the mind, into what is, I consider, like the matrix of just the universe, because that's where we all came from. It's where we're all going to go back to. And what a beautiful, beautiful representation of possibility for us. Man, we can be in this 3D suit and go into the ethers and go into manifestation magic, which is energy, and then come back here and have it show up for us. Poof, get your Harry Potter wand. Well, I'm on video and I'm pointing back to where my wand was. I have a Harry Potter wand from Universal Studios, near my old apartment in West Hollywood, and it's pretty awesome. I have to say, I love Harry Potter Land. So going back to this manifestation magic is that we're magical because we're energetic. Everything is energy, and that's all there is. There's just that one sentence. So here's a question for you. So get ready. Here's your question. If you were a quote, what quote would you be? So I'll say it again. If you were a quote, what quote would you be? And my quote would be, everything is energy, and that's all there is. So it explains everything. For me, it explains everything. So I get to show up in my energetics, in my energy, in my resonance, in how I'm vibrating and resonating. I can be in a funky mood, and I'm going to attract a lot of shit in that funky mood. It happened a couple days before Thanksgiving, or I don't know, right before Thanksgiving. I was just feeling a lot of pressure from expectations and what I wanted for myself and for my granddaughters. And it spiraled out of control. And because my energy is so potent, that I was around a bunch of different family members, and it didn't work out so well. And on the flip side of that, I always think of things as it worked out exactly how it worked out for the highest expansion and growth. Whether anyone else sees that, for me, that's the truth. And that's what happened for me. For other people, I'm sure they're probably still triggered. Well, I don't know if they are, but they can be. And there's nothing I can do about that. But I can take care of I can take care of my own side. And so really what I did after that all kind of unraveled, was this family, like, discord big time, was that I got to see my part in all of it. So this is another piece for you guys, because this is the manifestation month. So here's how it goes. Your energetic standard, number one, we're going to identify that. Number two, where are you bringing that? Where, like work, personal relationships with your kids, with money, with time, with how much is quote unquote, I'm so overwhelmed, it's too much on my plate. Also your choices, right? Those are all everything goes back to you. So that's number two. Number three is, remember this. This is something that is so powerful. when we remember this and we remind ourselves, everywhere I go, I have DNA in every situation I'm in. No one's doing anything to me. The universe is benevolent. Things are happening on my behalf for my own growth and expansion. When we frame our lives from that perspective, what happens is that when something shows up challenging, like this huge, I was calling it a discord, but really it was a fucking blowout between members of my family. When we have that perspective, I literally was in the center of all of it. And so a couple days later, I thought, wow, I see how I'm the central figure in all of it, whether I want to admit it or not. Not meaning I had to be in the drama triangle, but I was unconsciously by just being me and showing up and saying a few things. It didn't take much because everyone else was getting triggered from their own perspective, from their own energetic standards. So think about that, because I talked about that last week with our family, how to protect yourselves, right? When it comes to all these holiday gatherings. So that's why your energetic standard is identifying where you are on a daily basis. You can just ask yourself a question in the morning like, wow, I'm feeling really pressured. This is what happened to me that day. I felt really pressured to get everything done so I could take 3 days off so I could be with everyone. But what happened was my energy was really like tight and short and like, oh, I need to get done. I need to do all these things. Need, right? So it was all me. Think about go back to the wounded ego, me. The intention was great, right? Because I said we're always doing our best. My best laid plans, my intention was to take time off so I could spend with everyone. The way I went about it was with a low energetic, was with a low resonance and frequency, frustration, pushing myself as an old masculine energetic way of doing things that I used to do in the past to quote unquote, I got to get shit done. So when we do that and we move into a space where there's all different kinds of energies, like if you remember last week, I said, when we have that dominant energy and then we go to a room with other people all having their dominant energy, we're in trouble. Shit's going to run downhill, which it did. And it was exactly what was in alignment for me to see, because I broke it all apart, apologized to myself and other people. And I did it my own self-forgiveness process about, wow, what was I making things mean about me, about other people? And that I thought I needed to do that in order to take downtime. I didn't, absolutely not. I did not have to show up that way. But it was just another lesson for me to see like, wow, what am I bringing? So that's the DNA. Remember, everywhere you go, you have DNA in every conversation, with your money, with the time, with your overwhelm, with all the situations and relationships in your life, especially with yourself and with God or your creator or universal energy, intelligence, whatever you say. You have DNA in that. You're projecting things when we're in our triggers. Even when we're not, we can project dark and light. A dark projection is something that I'm doing and I see someone else doing it that I don't like and I'm triggered by it. Oh my God, she's this or he's that. They think they're so all this and all this. This is the rhetoric that's going on inside my internal dialogue, right? Is about I'm projecting negativity onto them. Look at her makeup. Look at when women do that to other women. First of all, don't do that. Just don't do that. It's so detrimental to yourself. It's not detrimental to them. It's detrimental to yourself. And you're part of this women's thread of energy that goes throughout the universe, the divine feminine. And when you do that, we're degrading the relationship that we have with each other and ourselves. Stand for women, stand for each other, love each other. When someone rises above the rest, say, good for you, boo, fucking good for you. Yes, yes. Instead of like, look at her, she thinks she's all that. That energy right there, your energetic standard is low. So when you see a woman and you celebrate her, you're celebrating yourself. You're celebrating the divine feminine. And so this is another part of your energetic standard is like, what is your DNA? That is a dark projection. A light projection is when you see, let's use that same example. You see a woman rising up above everyone else. She's accomplished something huge. It's the Oprah or the Mel Robbins, or it's these women that are big right now. when we see them, we're like, oh my God, she's so awesome. I could never do that. But what happens is that when you see someone, you're attracted to them, to what they've accomplished as a woman, whether it's a public figure or an actor or anything in your field of business or your career, and you see them and you're like, wow, you spot it, you've got it. And so just knowing that that means that your resonance also resides where they are. You just may have not gotten there yet. Everyone's on a different, don't compare your middle to your, beginning or middle to someone else's middle, or something that they've been doing for 20 years. I have this happen a lot in the real estate clients that I've coached, is that someone that's been doing it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years looks at another agent that I coach and they're like, oh God, I'll never be her. And she's been doing it for 20 years. I'm like, well, you're not her. And you've been doing it for 3 years and she's been doing it for 20 years. So that's not a great comparison. So when you see someone and you acknowledge their success, know that that's a part of you it's possible for. And when you're acknowledging it in a negative projection, it means that there's a part of you that has a trigger, because there's a part of you that doesn't think it's possible for you. And so then we take it out on them. That is what a projection is. So there's a lot of shadow work that goes in with that. That's just a very sort of surface level explanation of it. And the reason I'm bringing it into today's episode is because that is part of what holds us from what it is that we want to call in our manifesting. So we've got your energetic standard. I want you to also make sure that you understand that your DNA goes everywhere you go. So whatever's happening, whatever's happened, good, or if you quote unquote say it's bad, I don't say good, bad, because what's bad? What's failure? When there's a lesson involved, okay, I got a $10,000 lesson, or a lesson where the whole family's and now they're all in an argument. I still got a lesson. So there's something in that, just like last week, that really was meant for me. That's how I see it. Life is meant for me, not that it's not doing anything to me. So now the next piece is moving into what you want to create. So this is right before December. So we have a whole month of really calling in what we want. And so this week, what I want you to do is to write out something that you've really been wanting to accomplish, And despite your best efforts, you haven't been able to accomplish it. It's a goal, it's a money goal, a career goal, a relationship goal, calling in the one, something. It could be something with your kids. It's usually what I see in my coaching practice, because I do coach women entrepreneurs. I also coach male entrepreneurs. They're just usually in my one-on-one coaching, and women are in my groups. So coaching a lot of women entrepreneurs, what I see is that most of the time they're going for a career goal of a certain amount of sales, a certain amount of clients, a certain amount of revenue, profit, that kind of thing. Like next month, I'm doing a masterclass with one of my top clients of how she created not $1 million in revenue, $1 million in profit 3 years in a row, including this year. So it's pretty phenomenal, and how she has made it easy, what she's learned to do and not do to be able to accomplish that. And so I want you to identify a goal that you've had that despite your best efforts, you've not yet achieved it. And this isn't to get you depressed. It's to get your juices flowing. It's to get you thinking about, how have I created this? Here's the next question. And then we're going to set this episode free, because I want to leave you with some open-ended questions for you to think about. And then I have a mini-sode queued up to kind of wrap it. So the second part of that question is, whatever it is, whatever you think, you come up with that goal. And then so you've identified something that you haven't been able to accomplish yet. Remember that, the word yet. And then the next question is, how have I been creating this or allowing it to happen? So how have I been creating this or allowing it to happen? Meaning I haven't accomplished it. There's something there. There's some block. There's some limitation. There's some idea. There's some fear. There's some scarcity. There's some mindset piece. And I'm sure a nervous system and somatic, meaning the physical body temple block to moving forward. It's usually both. And how have I been creating it or allowing it to happen? Now, remember, everything I bring to you is not to judge or shame you. I definitely trigger a lot of people. That's kind of always the way. It's the way the soul came in. There's just I own it. And what I love about that means that I fucking wake people up. Let's wake up from the trance that we've created for ourselves with this hypnotization that we've done on ourselves with our story and our identity. This is the way it is. We're not a bunch of Eeyores. We are creative beings here to live a full life on this planet. And you're listening to this podcast. So that means that, well, if you're still listening, that means that you know there's something more for you in this lifetime and you want it. And those are the people that I love to coach, that I love to pour into, because when we're committed, when we're willing, when we're like, yes, like fucking yes, please, I want more. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be fucking rich. What is wrong with that? Nothing. Because as humans are literally, the purpose on this earth is to grow and expand. So growing in consciousness, growing in your abundance, growing in your prosperity, overflowing onto other people. That's literally your nature. It's your inherent nature. So owning that and then coming back to this question, how have I been creating this or allowing it to happen? Not to judge or shame myself, but to, again, identify. I'm identifying my energetic standard. I've identified my dominant energy from last week. Like I can see how I'm creating a lot of this discourse or this negativity and these relationships. I think it's me. Yeah. If it happens everywhere you go, it's definitely you, boo. So, so not to judge or shame, but awareness is the first step. Awareness, acceptance. Step number 2, without judgment. Like, wow, I've created kind of a shit show. Like, great. You don't need to know how to get out. We're just identifying so that then we can start to work with what we're identifying, what we're uncovering. And then step number 3 is always taking aligned action with what's in alignment. And that means tapping into our intuition. Man, we are intuitive creatures. And so what happens is the reason we're confused and we say, I don't know, I don't know, tell me, I'm confused, is because we're so used to being up here, again, pointing to my head, in the mind, that we haven't lost the ability to tap into our intuition. We just forgot. So I am going to be here to remind you. So next week, we are going to really talk about what it means to tap into our intuition, have that intuitive guidance. There's different clairs, meaning clairsentience, clairvoyance. It means sight, sound. Some people hear things. I see things and just know things. It's just a mental, or I see them. And, I channel those. I've been doing that since I was a kid. I just thought it was a weird thing. It's not a weird thing. It's natural. It's normal for humans to do that. And we're going to talk about that next week, of how you can tap into your own and start listening a little bit more each day to that intuitive guidance. So that's where the alignment comes from. And many times we can't hear it because we have all these competing intentions with old programming around fear or lack or fear of being judged and all these other things, which is completely in the realm of human behavior and normal for our everyday. And my purpose is to really clear that up for you guys, to bring you some clarity, to which allows your confidence to start flourishing and the courage to step in and really take steps towards what it is that you want to create. Because what I love is, I used to have a workshop and I called it Goal and Soul. Like, let's go for our goals and let's bring the soul with us. Let's have the soul guide us. Let's make it easy. Let's call it in with ease and grace. So that's what we're going to do in December. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm so grateful for all of you and that you spend your precious time, which is, to me, one of our greatest commodities, that you've spent that time with me and that you trust and, really show up for yourselves, in that you're in exactly where you should be. There's no other place you should be, or else you would be there. So again, thank you for listening to this episode. And if you have any questions or you want to send me a comment, please always remember to go to Instagram and send me a DM, and I'm happy to answer those on the show or on Instagram. So as always, thank you so much, beautiful ones. Be blessed.